Good morning, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back with your first morning video blog of the day for Saturday, July 26, 2014, around 7:20 a.m. in Belica. The sun's going to come out soon. It's going to be in the low 80s. This is going to be the pick day of the weekend, weather-wise, because it's going to be mostly sunny and stuff like that. I'll be going to the Lowell Folk Festival today to enjoy everything there. Hope to see some Facebook friends from the Lowell area there. And some news to report. The Tampa Bay Rays beat the Boston Red Sox by the score of 6-4. And that's about it for sports news. My first subject of the day is my continuing series on Boston independent television stations. And the next subject is WXNE Channel 25 in Boston. WXNE 25 signed on the air on October 10th, 1977, and it was owned by Pat Robinson, who owns the Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN, and the 700 Club. And for the first 3 years WXNE was on the air, it mainly showed religious programming, and also the 700 Club, and some programming from Pat Robinson's CBN network. And the president of WXNE was actually Pat Robinson's son, Tim. And most of the other shows they showed were mainly family type shows, like reruns like Father Knows Best and Get Smart, and a lot of westerns like Bonanza, Gunsmoke, High Chaparral, Rifleman, and they showed family movies and cartoon shorts. Around the fall of 1980, WXNE mainly dropped most of its religious programming and became like a full-fledged independent television station in Boston. It actually picked up the Candlepin for Cash bowling show from WNAC Channel 7 and showed it with a new host, former Red Sox shortstop Rico Petrocelli, but the fans really didn't like Rico as host, so they brought back Bob Gamere as host of Candlepin's for Cash, and that lasted through 1983. And also WXNE Channel 25 carried a lot of new syndicated reruns of such shows as The Rockford Files, Cannon, Barnaby Jones, WKRP in Cincinnati, Different Strokes, Mork and Mindy, Little House on the Prairie, Wonder Woman, Chips, the NBC mystery movie reruns of Columbo, McMillan and Wife, Banachek, McCloud. They also showed Family, Eight is Enough, and so many other classic reruns. And actually, plus in addition, they were growing to get on many cable systems in the Boston area and in Worcester and in New Hampshire, but it still lagged behind in the ratings for the other two Boston independent stations, WLVI Channel 56 and WSBK TV 38, and they rebranded it itself, having the slogan Boston's 25, Boston turns, New England turns to 25 today, and tonight they used that slogan in the early 80s and stuff, and by 1985 they used a slogan, You Should See Us Now. Yeah, and one of the things that lacked on Boston's 25, WXNE, the lack of local programming. They might have showed it like a consumer show, but they didn't have a local newscast back in the 80s and stuff. And also WXNE maybe showed some sports like college hockey games and maybe college basketball games independently, but they didn't have any sports programming. Also, WXNE carried professional wrestling, world-class championship wrestling for many years, and actually that world-class championship wrestling was replaced by 1987 by WWF Wrestling Challenge. By 1986, WXNE TV Channel 25 in Boston was sold to Fox Broadcasting, and it was going to become a Fox and owned operated station. and they was originally going to carry the Late Show host starring Joan Rivers, which was Fox's talk show. It was the first Fox programming, but still it was still owned by Pat Robertson, CBN, and was still going through the process by approval for the FCC and stuff like that. So WXNE could not carry it until the sale was completed. So for people in Boston had to hear the Joan Rivers late night talk show on the radio in Boston on 1510 WZRE. And finally it got approved by the FCC in 1987, January 1987, and then WXNE was rebranded as Fox 25 in Boston, and they continued to get more shows and stuff like that. They got syndicated reruns of such shows as The Dukes of Hazzard, Silver Spoons, Mr. Belvedere, and others, but it was still lacking. And this is when Fox owned it for a few years, but by 1989 Fox sold it to the Boston Celtics, and with part of that deal, Boston Celtics road games, which was on WLVI TV 56 for 5 years, moved to WFXT Fox 25, the road games, and there was rumors that they were going to try to make a play to get Red Sox and Bruins games on Fox 25 around that time, but like WSBK still owned a significant portion of NESN, and they re-upped on that deal so that they couldn't do it. And plus, this is when the time that Fox was going to try to pull the plug on the affiliation for 25 because of so many preemptions of their games, preempting the Fox schedule, because this is when Fox was showing 7 nights a week now, because at first when Fox started they only broadcast programs on weekends, but they gradually did it, and by 1989 they broadcast added Mondays, and by 1991 they were doing Thursdays and Fridays, and by 1992 they did all 7 days a week of carrying programming, and WFXT was in danger of losing it, but the other stations in Boston, WSBK and WLVI, didn't want to have a Fox affiliation. And by 1993, WFXT sold their rights to the Celtics games, road games, to WSBK TV 38, and this is when they were, around 1993, they worked out a deal to have a newscast through New England Cable News at night at 10. It lasted 2 years until they signed off on it, and they discontinued it, so they produced their own news, which they had to wait till fall of 1996, and now it's like they carry 52 hours of news each weekday and stuff like that. And this is when the programming on Fox, around 1995, they were getting more good syndicated programming. They were not going low budgeted on it anymore. And then this is when the cartoons on the weekends were being phased out for like talk shows and informational shows. And by the around 2000 or so, half of the Fox 25's programming schedule during the daytime was a mix of talk shows, court shows, and stuff like that. Sitcoms were going away. Reruns of sitcoms were going away. And by 2005, 2006, all of the daytime schedule, besides news, was talk shows and reality shows and game shows. And Fox 25 became one of the most strongest owned and operated Fox stations in the United States. By 2014, right now, Fox Television is in the process of selling Fox 25 to Cox Cable, because this is like a swap for Fox stations that are owned and operated in Memphis, Tennessee as well. They're going to swap with San Francisco, because San Francisco has an NFC team, and Fox Sports has the NFC games, and Boston has the Patriots who play in the AFC, and this is a swap just for like Fox to make more money for the NFC because of advertisement and stuff, while the Patriots are only maybe play 2 games a year on Fox, if at all. Depends how good they are. And a lot of people in Fox 25 say this is going to be a killer because they might have layoffs and stuff, but we'll wait to see the approval to Cox Communications is supposed to take place by the fall. We'll see. I kind of like WXNE Boston 25 back in the 80s because they showed some good stuff. They should have shown more local more local programming, but maybe they didn't have the budget for it back in the 80s and stuff like that. And also, back then, many of the independent stations wanted to show syndicated reruns of classic television shows and stuff like that to compete with each other. And WXNE was like kind of the third wheel of Boston independent television stations. But it had a good run, and I enjoyed some of the shows on it. The next Boston TV station I'm going to talk about at some time in the near future is WQTV and WABU Channel 68 in Boston. And then I'm not going to forget about the New Hampshire independent stations because that's part of the Boston market as well. And I'll be back later on with more of these video blogs of the day. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to talk about because it's going to be a surprise. And I'm getting good feedback on these video blogs. A lot of people are getting to like these, so if you have any comments or questions, you could PM me and I'll take them. And if there's any special shoutouts that you want to send me to plug, send it through private message, and I'll be more than happy to apply to it. I'm not going to be shouting out people's names at random. I don't do that. Have a good day. Facebook friends and YouTube followers.